Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Happy New Year, Dave.
Happy New Year, Snovum Godum, Jonathan Byer. This is the skating lesson. We're going to be discussing everything going on in the skating world and previewing the 2022 United States and Canadian Figure Skating Championships. It's Nationals Week is upon us, Jonathan. I have to say, strangest Nationals Week ever. I don't know what is the vibe that you're feeling, and I'll talk out what I'm feeling. We're both
Yes, I mean, I have my tickets booked. I got all the things. I have to tell you, this was one of those, I can't stand the Ticketmaster website. That is such an aside. But instead of picking like an all event pass, I ended up doing like 3 individual ones and then a weekend pass. Like I found the whole thing very complex, but it all seems like, is this real? Is it actually happening? Like, and then the news of Canadian nationals came, but then I saw all the things that USFS was reassuring that their plan is to go ahead. It feels weird. It feels weird. And after Russia and Japan, it does feel somewhat like an afterthought to me.
Yeah, it does. It's a very strange time that we're in, where numbers are exploding. But we're already going to have comments. It's nothing. It's serious. They should can't. I mean, everyone has a different opinion on this, and it's just the world that we're living in that I think people don't know. But we are starting to see things get canceled. So there were World Junior Hockey Championships that were in Canada, obviously a big event. They got canceled last week. Teams were being home because several teams tested positive for COVID. That's just protocol, what has to be done. Then you think about, the fact that the NHL pulled out of the Olympics. Not great things for the Olympics. Obviously, hockey very much of interest to teams around the world. The NHL not being there doesn't mean hockey is canceled, but it certainly makes the field perhaps less interesting for those with great star power. There's a lot of speculation that it could get pulled at the last moment. That China is moving ahead with it. They announced that there is going to be a drop dead date where you have to test positive and have a test result, and that is negative for COVID, for Omicron, for COVID. Otherwise, you cannot get on the plane to go, and you'll just be kicked out of the Olympics. Of course, we did see athletes in the Summer Olympics that
But now wait, just to interrupt. So like, even when I went to Canada for Skate Canada, are they saying it has to be by a certain date? Because even just to travel internationally, you have to have those negative test results.
But they're saying there's a certain date where they set a date. I think it's a little misleading with the Canadian article because it has to deal with when the Canadian charter is. So I don't want to say that that's the date for everyone. But in Canada, there's a certain date where if they were to test after a certain date, they could not get on the charter and go. And this is one of the big concerns is obviously we, want to go to nationals because it's a big event. I've had, plans to go and whatnot, and we all want to watch it. But what people are starting to talk about in the sport and behind the scenes, and I know this is going to get like so much outrage of comments, but, Omicron's nothing. This is all, whatever. Let's just talk about the reality and the rules, okay? The rules are if you were to test positive for COVID after a certain date, you could not then get on the airplane and go to China, okay? The problem is we are having nationals where everyone is getting on airplanes to go fly to the event where probability someone will have it, okay? Coach will have it, stagehand will have it, guy, working the lights could have it, right? That you could come in contact with someone in an elevator if you're an athlete, the nurse at the nurse at the arena, the maid at the hotel, right? Like this is all things that could happen. What then is worrying because of the, how contagious it is and that not everyone has symptoms and, there's a shortage of tests, that not everyone can actually be getting tested for this, right? So now you're putting a situation where we're putting all of our top athletes in a controlled environment of infection when there's a certain date. I don't think being named to the Olympic team at nationals means you are in it or out of it for the Olympics. I mean,
what an excellent point, Dave. Like, this could be a very unique situation because of we're focusing on how terrible it could be that someone might have to withdraw, but this could be a game changer in the world of alternates right now.
If you're 4th or 5th at nationals, there's a very good chance that you could compete. And that goes for Russia, that goes for everywhere. Look, Russia had no masks. Are we thinking that they don't have Omicron, that there was an Omicron in that arena spreading around? And at least in the US, we're not going to be sending our top athletes to 4 continents. There's no way, and we don't usually, but there's no way.
Right.
And Canada won't either. But the Russians are supposed to go to Europeans.
Right.
So they're going to get on a flight and go to that event if it's not canceled. And then think about.
And again, this is not about personal beliefs about what's responsible and what's not responsible. There's a deadline, and if there's a test that says you're positive, you're toast.
You have to think about calculated risk is the way I would think about this. Is it worth it for Valyeva, Trusova, and Sherbakova to go to Europeans knowing that being on an airplane, even if it's chartered, even if being in a hotel, at what point is that a bigger risk of getting COVID versus being in a controlled environment? I mean, if I were one of the Olympic teams, I would have every one in a bubble training together in an Olympic training center, airdropping food in, because if these events have to go on, unless something is going to happen that we don't know about. But I would think, yeah, you kind of have to quarantine everyone and then charter the plane and get them in. And it's certainly not the Olympic experience anyone dreamed of. You're not interacting with the people at vendors, pin trading. Imagine like the germs on pins as they get traded around. But I don't know, at what point is it worth it? And at what point is it worth to pull it? I mean,
and by worth it, you mean Europeans?
I mean the Olympics.
Interesting. See, here's the thing, and God, this is like sometimes we find ourselves in stating like it becomes such a metaphor for what's happening in society in its own way. So I know that there are very varied reactions to this COVID protocol, but at the end of the day, like we know that a lot of these athletes who have been vaccinated and boosted and are in great shape, like chances are, if they catch COVID, they're going to be recovering no problem. But if they have created this rule, it can really throw a wrench. So I think of like things like these hockey teams. That makes total sense. What a nightmare scenario. How are you going to contain that? But in some of the figure skating bubbles, I feel like they might be able to control it a little bit more. Well, I don't know.
Okay, riddle me this, because this is what I was thinking about, and I was getting, Christine was texting me, they're going to have to go virtual, right? What about it? And I'm like, I don't know. And everyone goes, what if Nathan gets COVID? Now, Nathan is certainly not the only person whose Olympic dream matters, but he is a huge star. And there will be storylines on NBC, which is paying more than $1 billion to host these Olympics, which is part of a reason why this is going on, right? So, because this is all about money. Let's be really honest. And China's invested a lot. The IOC has a lot invested, cash flow. Think about it. So let's say someone like Nathan can't go. Let's say, what if the Russians come down with COVID? Now, do I think people might try to fake COVID test? That's another story. And I'm not saying who would or wouldn't, because you don't know anything about human nature in Olympics, right? But let's say that athletes, let's say the Russian girls had to pull out. Let's say Nathan had to pull out. And then let's say Papadakis and Cizeron can't go. Does that event mean as much to you if someone is an Olympic champion, or will you forever feel that there's an asterisk next to it and this was like the fake Olympics?
Of course. However, as we know with the team event, doesn't change that credit. Once it says, so-and-so, gold medalist, yes, the intense fans will know, like, well, same with Mary Lou in '84. Like, you're kind of like, yes, it's a gold medal.
And with Cooney Lee, because Simone got the twisties or whatever, right?
But 9 out of 10 people don't remember that about Mary Lou's win.
Yeah.
Now, so I think the honor of the medal will still always hold its impact, but we as super skating fans, like same thing, if they went back and retroactively assigned Michelle that national title that they stripped from Tanya, right now it just sits empty. And I remember someone who loved Michelle, I was like, well, bump up Michelle, like, bump up Nicole, give Elaine Zayak that bronze, like, but it just, somehow you're right, suddenly if she had broken another nationals record with that number, you'd be like, well, it doesn't really count. So it would be, I don't know, it would be really tough, especially with all three Russian girls training together. Yeah. Now it's even more dangerous. Like if one of the three get it, it's very plausible all three have. I mean, this is, I don't know, to me as a fan also though, as we talked about how exciting some of the bronze medal matchups will be, I hope no one has to withdraw.
Of course.
If
but
that
there's a
happens,
probability that people will of course have to withdraw.
But it could become a pretty interesting competition if sort of like some obvious things get shuffled and now it's all a free-for-all. Yes.
But think
the
about
novelty.
It.
Yeah.
But the Olympics are hinging on ratings. Do they risk public disgust that the Olympics are even going on during this situation? That's another thing, because the ratings for Tokyo weren't great.
Right.
So then they risk 2 Olympics in a row with bad ratings. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, right? Because if you move the Olympics out, everyone who's trained for this year, it completely changes the field. It's a completely different situation, right? There's no right answer in terms of what to hope for, right? It really changes everything.
Well, it was interesting just within our skating microcosm, like the backlash against Japan canceling the Grand Prix final. How many articles came out that was like, Japan's afraid of Russia, so they canceled the final? I can't imagine the political backlash that would come. They're going to say, oh, well, you were afraid our 3 girls were going to win, so you canceled the Olympics. Or, you know, I mean, it's going to incite so many people if it's canceled.
I don't think the entire Olympics are going to be canceled over figure skating results. First of all, there's way bigger.
Exactly. Well, as if like some nervous Japanese Federation official thought they should just cancel the Grand Prix for funsies. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's a ton of money and momentum that gets cut. I do think at that time, when the Grand Prix final was canceled, you know how there's like a don't shoot the messenger? That was the first thing where it felt, oh no, here it comes. And people didn't want to acknowledge the reality of what is happening, right? And that this could happen again. It's like PTSD. Right. And I don't think that, I think that, and at that point, maybe the numbers for the variant weren't what they are now. You know, everything was just based on projection. There's still a lack of information, you know.
Well, and then people were floored when Japan was able to pull out their nationals, but the whole point was that it was domestic. That was the whole reason they could do that. And obviously, you need international people at an Olympic event. This is where it could be beneficial to me, is if they don't let the teams sit together in those stupid costumes during the team event. That could be a plus. Yeah.
Well, it was better than the World Team Trophy the last times, but I actually have to say, I enjoyed the team event at the last 2 Olympics. As much as we think it's a joke or whatever, it did have some exciting moments, and people really get into the strategy. People are already saying, oh my God, could Morris from Georgia throw a wrench into things in the men? What could happen? Could Morris beat the Russian man? Could he beat him by several places?
Right.
Things start happening. You start throwing COVID in the mix. Who knows what these teams could look like? But I mean, I think Russia has a lot of depth. They will be just okay. But however, some other countries don't have that depth. So if a pair skater from Japan gets COVID, they don't have another team to go in there. So
that's exactly right. The team event could really actually get the most shuffled by a potential positive test, I think. Yeah. So,
obviously, I don't. I think
uplifting way to begin our New Year's broadcast.
Yeah, but it's what everyone's talking about. Okay. do you know that there aren't enough tests for the Canadians to even test themselves all the time? And then there's the speculation where they're telling people, only test if you really feel symptomatic. But think about how much it behooves these federations to hold their nationals due to TV contracts and revenue that comes in, which, guess what? The revenue actually funds the skaters. So it's all, but then it's like, are the skaters pawns in this situation? It's really complicated.
Well, because it's interesting. So riddle me this, because we know that Canada said no spectators, right? But that, of course, is to protect the audience from itself, and not the athletes. I mean, the people were talking about protecting the athletes, but truly, like at Skate America, for instance, as Raphael will tell you, they keep their bubble very tight. They had no interaction with us, really.
No,
so I don't.
Right. I mean, it's a lower risk. I mean, God forbid someone throws something on the ice. It's whatever.
Right.
However, yes, and it protects the audience and things like that. You just wonder, at what point with these strains, it's less dangerous perhaps, but more infectious, but people are still unvaccinated. And not every country has the same access to vaccines. It's just really a quandary about, what to do. So, yeah. But
the people that think this is all overreactive, it's like, you may think that, but the committee's deciding the rules here do not think that. So whether you agree with the precaution or not, it's going to have a really serious effect on these athletes, and nothing's going to change that.
Yeah. And everything is overreacting until it hits home for someone. So there's that as well. But we did Smirnova and Sinitsia withdrew. They're the junior Paris champions. They withdrew due to COVID. So they're the kind of the first ones in the US that have withdrawn. I wouldn't be surprised to hear more throughout the week, just as this happens. Unfortunately, that's just reality of the situation. Bearer of bad news. Brady Tennell is also out. So let's talk about this.
She is? Because I have to tell you, I read that article that came out that was the weirdest article.
Yes, let's break that article down.
I couldn't even believe it. Well, I was so interested to actually click it because as we've bemoaned several times without ICE Network, these articles are few and far between. But it was such a weird article that basically said, expect nothing. Tom was like, if she's fine, she'll be fine. And if she's not, she's not. And I was like, whoa, it was such a weird feeling.
I got an irresponsible feeling from it, but I also know that Brady's a fighter and that an Olympic dream is an Olympic dream. So I was thinking, what are we going to witness? And I was not expecting good things. I think Brady's a fighter. Obviously, in an Olympic year, you want to minimize lost training time. I was reading it wondering, is this a situation where they tried to work around the injury too much to where they never had enough time off to heal it and then they could get back? Because if you can miss, you never want to miss time, right? But let's say that you could miss June, July, August, you could theoretically get back for nationals. But they didn't do that because she was at Champs Camp and she jumped through triple loop there, I believe. I'd have to go back in our archive, but she tried toe, she tried sow, I believe, and tried loop, was not doing flip or lutz. So let's think about it. If she were doing Champs Camp, think about how much time you need to get ready for Champs Camp. So that takes, time away. And he said that, well, we'd be 3 days on and then days off. And she hasn't been jumping for a long time is what we had heard. So, and people in the rink were like, she's not really skating. It was just
delayed cancellations, like maybe Zagreb, and then we've decided not Zagreb, which again to me is indicated there was probably a push to get ready to see if they could, and then they decided they couldn't. So it's all these like false starts. Also.
Without ICE Network, I do feel that these coaches are allowed to control the narrative more. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've noticed this, but this has been the year of hiding injuries. We've never found out what is Trusova's diagnosis. What was Anna Sherbakova's diagnosis? Did she have surgery this summer?
Daria, even, you know what I mean?
What is Daria's diagnosis?
Yeah.
What is Alyona Kostranaya's diagnosis? How are Chelsea and Danny doing? How are Brady doing? Everything that we get is Instagram when people choose to tell us, but no one is asking the questions and pushing. When the USFS had their own, obviously they have a business partnership with Major League Baseball. So there was a vested interest to have that website do well, so they could push a little bit more and get some more information out there rather than just hiding everything. But now we live in a situation where, well, if you don't talk about it, it will inevitably go away. So we haven't seen Brady for months and no one knew what the situation was. I mean, I was getting messages from loyal fans being like, well, what's going on? And I'd be like, well, she's clearly hurt. Really? Are you sure? I'd be like, what do you think? She just doesn't want to like not compete in the Olympic year? Like, what are you thinking about? But we don't get that information out. Rumors start, speculation starts, right? You start to wonder what the truth is. And I think that that's been a worrying part. The thing is, everyone has been very quick to blame Tom for the injury. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
Before, and she's always been someone that really was a hard worker. We've told it did tons and tons of injuries. The reality is her body has developed over the last year. She's not the tiny kid she was. She's a real adult human being, athlete, who's in great shape, but her body started to struggle with getting the rotation based on her technique. So you start to wonder, were they trying to get those jumps around? Did that lead to an injury? All of these things.
That triple axel, like misguided,
that was
journey, whatever that was. Yeah.
That was never.
But it is unfortunate. This is an example for those who were paying close attention and those who are a little bit not paying close attention. It's the idea of like, well, where did Brady go? But if you watch closely, we saw the struggles beginning a while back, including a little bit before Tom. In the same way, Medvedeva. We saw the decline before it officially happened.
Brady's jumps have gotten slightly less rotated each year. And there are certain jumps, like her flip wasn't great. Like, and then remember the combination last year at Nationals where they really, really cheated to give her that clean triple, which was grossly under-rotated. And
in a weird way, I guess. Did she announce she's just out of nationals, end of discussion, or are we talking beyond that?
Well, I don't think someone asked me, could she petition onto the Olympic team? But she's had no
That would be foolish of the USFS, I would think.
And the reality is she's in skating, right? So she's in, it's not like a Nancy Kerrigan test skate.
Right.
Plus, and I want to, when we move on to the ladies, and we can have this discussion and move on to it now, there would be the discussion of what warrants saving someone, right? So if someone, I know that we talk about body of work, but we're still in a new era, in selecting these teams. The reality is they're going to want to go with the top three as much as possible. They would love, right? But our ladies aren't a predictable top three. They could
it was in Boston in 2014 when I was talking to one of the judges afterwards, and they said, damn it, Mariah did so well, but we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We have to put her third, even though they don't. I believe the judges, it's easiest for everyone. Let's hope the team we're sort of seeing as our best option performs at nationals so we can do this by the book. Yeah.
But I don't trust those three skaters to do that. It is anyone's game.
Unless we remember, weird things happen at nationals and when they're held in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes. So let's talk about, and Brady also, before we get into it, do you think what does this mean for her career? And let's talk about what this means. Brady's not a skater that has a ton of endorsements. Probably not going to happen based on whether the US skater and you're not medaling internationally. It's not like she has a big Instagram, huge following, right? So she's likely not going to get the shows in Japan. If they're going to invite international skaters, they're usually, maybe one of the girls from Russia, a lot of stars to pick from. Also, who knows what shows are happening with COVID this summer, too soon to tell, right? Probably not going to get invited to a Russian show, right? So you just be like, where is the money coming? Stars on Ice doesn't have that many tour stops like it has before. When you don't compete at nationals, you don't get the top funding. It's just an unfortunate thing. They can try to find money for you. There are different ways, the donations and whatnot, but you're not getting the funding that you would have as national champion. She does get to live in the Olympic Training Center, for free. Her coachings could give them a break, but you start to be like, wait, going another 4 years, how expensive is that? we've heard that there's not unlimited resources, for Brady. So at what point you start to wonder, is this, even if she could come back, what are the other challenges? Now, does the USFS look at their situation and be like, we think we have a lot of retirements. Let's try to, get the money together and keep her in the sport if she can be healthy. I mean, at what point?
I wonder, because it just seems like I don't see this turning around for her. If they couldn't get it to turn around now, I don't know that next year it's going to turn around.
Usually when an injury doesn't heal like this, and it takes a long time, that's when you hear all of a sudden they're going to go towards the surgical option.
And fortunately for Brady, she has been to the Olympics. She can go out as a national champion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, I don't know. To me, it's probably so raw in the moment.
She's obviously a strong athlete, right? A strong mind. I think if she could do it physically, I think maybe we'll see her try. I think there are just other complicated. Can she be healthy enough? What about the financial aspect of all of this?
As opposed to the situation in Russia or Japan, we don't necessarily have three chomping at the bit that will immediately take over. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's sort of in the same pool at the moment. So it's also like, do you need Brady? Is Brady going to do better than a Lindsay or an Isabeau next season?
Not even just about having a skater in the top three, though. And this is one thing where people don't think about it. You need a certain amount of competitiveness within the country to keep everyone working hard enough to get that top three to perform at a certain level. There needs to be enough fear in everyone about how other skaters are doing to push everyone to work harder, to push everyone to go for the harder things. If it's really easy just to get out of the US, remember we were in a situation for many years before 2013, I would say like 2012, really for about 2007 to 2012, the standard of skating started to slip to where if you did 5.5 triples that were pretty clean at nationals, you'd get to go to worlds. You didn't need a clean triple. The standard of skating went down. And that's not to say that those skaters weren't good, but what it took to win nationals was not the same, right? And then we couldn't medal internationally. Like, well, think about to get out of US nationals, you only have to be here. You didn't have to go for here. So when you go to worlds, it's less. So that becomes its own situation. So anyway, I think it really, if they could keep Brady in and she wants to keep going, I think it's important to keep her in the sport. At least have the option, keep the depth up. Because if we start to have really thin talent available, no one's going to work as hard. Think about how much harder the skaters work in a Terry's rink or in Plushenko's rink or at the Montreal Dance School because they're all together and there is that infighting. So
yeah, makes sense.
It's human nature, right? When you see that kind of a situation. But let's talk about the skaters at US Nationals, Jonathan. What is the expected team that you would expect to come out if they didn't host? Okay, let's say they canceled Nationals tomorrow and said, we're going to name the Olympic team. What do you think the team would be?
Alyssa, Karen, and Mariah.
And
it's fascinating to pull those names by now. Because when we started this season, I had a feeling like it was all going to get turned upside down. I didn't know how. And I really am shocked. But Mariah Bell proved everyone wrong and continued to create a new narrative. And I just am really impressed by that. So, yeah.
Okay. And let's break, which of those three do you trust the most to do two clean programs at Nationals?
Okay. Clean at Nationals. Oh God, that is, wow, Dave, because let's see, we've got
I was driving and I had an epiphany this morning.
Okay, even right before Epiphany. This works out great. Okay, so we've got Mariah.
I was thinking about it, right? We haven't talked about it. Alyssa Lewis had some odd Instagram lives going on.
That may indicate she's struggling internally or unsettled.
Or it's just a teenager being a teenager, but.
Which to me means unsettled. I would have said Alyssa before this wonky move, but I don't know what the move will.
Also, I may have misspoken when I said that she had a new short program. It may be Karen that does. When I was texting with Drew, I might have gotten confused by what he said. So I just wanted to,
Okay.
but I was thinking it was Alyssa based on, I just had read an article where they're talking about Karen's programs. Who knows? Drew said that he had choreographed a new program for one of them. Okay.
Stay tuned to see which.
Okay.
But is Mariah gonna, yeah, okay, go.
Karen Chen has not had a good fall, but there is this narrative that Karen does well at nationals and peaks at the right time. Okay. There's Starr Andrews has been a bright star, but hasn't had all of the triples in her free skate, right? Although there are so many issues about which skater you could pull off the team and what they could claim. I mean, anyone. I mean, it could be media backlash if they use body work against any number of these skaters. Okay. You've got Alyssa, who's changed coaches. They're working on, the technique, a little bit of an odd social media presence going on, worrying, right? You have Mariah Bell, who's not done a triple in competition in the short program.
And I don't know if we'll see. Do you think we'll see one at national? I don't know that I can anticipate a triple from her in the short. Would you go triple and fall or triple and double?
What if she goes for it and rotates and falls? Will they give her the rotation and just take the fall? Right? Because you want to keep her in it. Right?
Or do you just do the triple double?
But then if you do a triple double at nationals, are they going to say a triple flip double toe at nationals? Really, girl? What year is this?
But then I argue, so who's going to offer, who's amazing, who's going to offer the clean triple over her? Maybe a Lindsay and an Isabeau?
You've got Lindsay, you've got Isabeau. Now, Isabeau's not eligible for the Olympics, but she could sure be one of those girls that outskates other people, which creates an embarrassment for the Olympics.
Right. That suddenly we're sending a 5th place person.
Although it's kind of good for you as figure skating. It looks like we have a bright star, so there's enough good skating on TV. It's good and bad, right? Amber Glenn. She's been someone that they've counted out, bet against.
I could see them easily counting her out, even if she gets top 3 again, if they feel the need to.
What if
I feel like if Amber pulls out a performance, I don't know. I feel like the federation may still cut her.
What if she's
give it to the other 3? She was second last time.
Yeah, but there were only 2 spots.
Yeah,
now she's second with 3 spots.
Right.
What have the other ones done? Make a case for your skater. What have the other ones done last year and this year to earn our spot? When Ashley got chosen, let's think about it. She had been in the top 5 in the world twice, had medaled at Grand Prix finals, and had qualified.
Had made the Grand Prix final over all the other American women,
Is getting a spot at Nebelhorn enough to save you if you're not in the top 3?
No, I don't think so. I don't know that Amber's fall season was...
Well, that was Alyssa that got the Nebelhorn, but Amber's fall season is...
Yeah, but I don't know that Amber's fall season was enough more than Alyssa's, Karen's, or Mariah's to make a case if they had to. I don't think it was so...
I'm not going to making... I'm thinking making a case against Amber and for someone else. What would that case be?
I think overall scoring potential and how the piece. See, I'm going PCS.
Does it make that big of a difference? It's not like we're going for a medal, right? Like there was an outside shot that Ashley Wagner could get a medal. We're going for like 9th, 10th, and 11th. If you think about it.
Well, but we're going for a team medal.
Yeah, but does it really matter when they're 9th, 10th, and 11th which one we put up?
Well, yeah, exactly.
We think it does, but does it really?
Yeah.
Enough to take someone's Olympic dream away.
Right.
And get the backlash. What if Starr Andrews is in 3rd?
That would be a PR nightmare. It really would.
Amber Glenn.
That may not be a PR nightmare.
Really? You're going to take the pansexual girl that they've shit on how many times and not send her to the Olympics?
I guess because here's the thing. It's so easy to point to the fall season and say this is why. Even though Karen also was falling, even though Mariah has her issues, even though Alyssa had her under rotations, like I still think internationally you see that Amber ranks fourth. I think when I see judges PCS, it gives me the indicator of who the judges are going to be friendly to, and they're not friendly to Amber. They are friendly to Mariah and Karen more than Amber.
That's true, but couldn't you see Mariah Bell being someone who struggled at nationals? She could always be someone who she's shown us both things at nationals. She's shown us a skater who has struggled, and she's shown us a skater who skated brilliantly.
Right.
I think Karen could be a skater who struggles. We saw her land a jump in a split during the fall. She's also someone who has skated beautifully at nationals.
Right.
I just don't know, based on how this goes, what does body of work mean? And are we going, what is the standard? Is it just to send our best no matter what? Or are we sending the best when there's a medal contender to save someone? In the past, people who have been sent through, let's think about it. Mino and Sand, when Jenny had the ankle problem. Todd Eldridge, and they had been world medalists. Todd Eldridge had been world medalist when he got sent, and national champion. You think about
Michelle.
Michelle and Nancy. Ashley had her, and people were even starting to question if that was enough. That was shocking at the time that it went very controversial. Adam had been a national champion, hadn't had the results of Ross, but had a good fall season.
Yeah, and I mean, Adam was in the final. Adam was in the Grand Prix final. Like, this is the idea. People wanted to award a moment instead of sort of a team selection mentality. To me, yes, nationals is the competition, but are you going to let one night determine something that's so important coming up? I was always a proponent.
Historically, they used that one night.
Which is absurd to me.
Well, yes and no. There's a big argument. Well, if you can't do it at nationals, you're going to be able to do it at Worlds. Who's to say that you can't do, are you going to be able to do it at the Olympics? Who's to say that? That's
a question for the committee to decide. I don't know. I never was on board with, well, on the night, because then we're making nationals almost more important than the Olympics in some way. And if the goal is to guarantee a team medal at the Olympics, and I'm on the committee, I really have to think outside the box and see who is going to deliver us that team medal. And now,
what about the swimming argument? They don't go by averages. They go by who swims the fastest in the lane on that night at Olympic trials.
Good for them. Because you know,
no, I know. I'm just throwing devil's advocate, point.
But I'm thinking it because then it's also going to be the clock that determines it later, not a subjective group that already has preconceived notions about that swimmer. And in this case, that is the scenario. Again, that's why I keep defending Karen. People will be like, Karen does this, Karen does this. And I'll say, I know she does, but the judges still like her more. She could land in a split jump. They're going to give it more credit than Amber. They just are.
I have to say, I think whatever skater does well has to do well in both. Remember, Ashley had errors in both programs in 2014. I think if we're going to save a skater, they at least have to do one good program here. Okay.
Yeah.
If Mariah Bell falls in the short, nails the free, and is somehow in fourth, but has a gorgeous free program, that might be enough for us to take her. Right? If someone is shaky in both programs, I don't know. Honestly, the emotion on the night is so strong at Olympic trials, right? Someone finishes in the top three. Historically, they think that they've made it if there are three spots. If Amber is second, I think that's enough to go. If Amber is third, I do not think that's necessarily enough to go.
I'm just curious. Let's say in this scenario that Amber is second.
Mm-hmm.
Who's fourth? Maybe in this scenario. That's the thing.
What if Isabeau is fourth and Mariah is fifth? Isn't that more interesting?
Right.
What if the results of nationals, Jonathan? Karen, Amber, And you can all do this in the comments. If it's Karen, Amber, Lindsay, Isabeau, Mariah, Alyssa, what do you do? Let's write that.
Okay.
What I said, Karen,
Amber, Lindsay,
Isabeau,
Mariah, Alyssa. Hypotheticals, no one says this is what's going to happen. We're just playing out different scenarios.
How many skaters can you save without having a PR nightmare? Or do you go bold and say, we have this selection committee, we're going to pick the best team?
That's what I do.
Or are you going to say this COVID nationals is all bullshit anyway? Like, what are you?
Do you know what I mean? There were particular optics that were playing against Mariah and Ashley in 2014. There was a lot of articles were talking about that it wasn't right that an Asian skater was passed up. A lot of people remember
that hasn't
Mariah
changed. Look at our roster that we just discussed.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be different. Yeah,
there are several. Each person almost has something that you could say is a PR nightmare
to vote against.
Yeah. And no one's going to care when the headline is written that, hey, they had another Asian skater on the team. No one's going to care. Okay.
Right. I guess if in this scenario, if Alyssa is 6, knowing that the judges may try to help her in little ways, if she really finished 6th, it means things went really awry. So now we've got to look at, well, why did they go really awry? Is it because she hasn't had enough time with these new people? Is it because she has new people? So I think whatever causes the 6th place finish has to be considered very carefully.
I would then look at, if Alyssa is 6th, and I know what I know about her social media, I would not send her.
I'm inclined to agree because it tells me.
But I don't know if every judge knows what she said on social media.
But the judges aren't the selection committee, are they?
Well, no, I'm sorry, the international committee, whoever votes. Okay. We don't know which ones know and which ones don't know.
Don't you think they've done their homework?
I mean,
and that's unfortunately part of the homework.
Skating talks. Everyone is.
Yeah.
Listen, Amber Glenn was logged into those live shows. Do you think Amber Glenn didn't tell Ashley Cain what they said?
Well, and they would be.
Do you think Ashley Cain that didn't tell Peter and Darlene Cain, who know a lot of people? And she's not the only skater who was in. And I'm just talking about how, I'm not saying that because Amber was in, that means that people were, I'm talking about.
But it was noticed.
How things could spread in skating is what I'm trying to explain. I'm not painting anyone in that light. I'm talking about how things can spread in skating. Right?
But if you're on a selection committee, you have to know where someone's mental state is, because we know now more than ever there's such a psychological proponent to all of this. So if that's off kilter and you're already on the fence, it could be a deciding factor. Who's in the best mental space to
Mariah Bell? I'm definitely not putting her in the short program in the team event. So if she doesn't deliver a great free skate here, I'm not sending her.
Okay.
Because we can't put her in the short. Right. She needs to do a hallelujah free skate here, like the other hallelujah. Because her strength is not the short program. That's just reality.
Right.
Amber could be the wrench. Oh my God. Oh, please let this happen. We've been so good. We have been so good. Please let nationals be interesting.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of scenarios that this could get switched up.
We have a TikTok star who might get effed over or throw a wrench in or land a triple axel. We have been so good this year, Jonathan.
Skating karma. Give us something spicy.
Karen, I mean, you could make any argument. You could be like, she's was fourth at World. She's why you have 3 spots. Or you could say she landed in a split in a jump on the Grand Prix. You can make.
To be fair, when some people make the argument about something that was quite frankly so long ago, Last year's Worlds was a lifetime ago in so many ways. So I know that's supposed to be a part of it. But just because you did well at a World Championships a year ago does not give me any indication about how you're going to skate necessarily at this Olympics. You know, so I don't know that Karen's fourth at that Worlds automatically puts her on the team. I think the fact that the judges, despite her landing in the splits this fall, still gave her nice PCS marks, does. So,
I mean, it could go any which way.
No.
I don't trust any of these girls.
Mm-mm.
None.
Mm-mm. And I do have a feeling something shocking is going to happen. Someone is going to step up that will make a shuffle in the Paulina Edmonds sort of way. In a break, I mean, we had advanced warning about Brady because she had won a medal at Skate America that season. Okay. But I think the stage is set for something exciting to happen from an unexpected skater.
In the men's event, I think it's pretty clear.
I think so as well.
That it's Nathan, Vincent, and Jason. And I think each one of those men has the body of work to be already written on the team. Unless they showed up doing single Lutzes or double Lutzes at nationals.
Of course, you know, something could always happen.
Vincent won Neville won Skate America. Nathan Chen, 3-time world champion. He's going, right? Jason Brown, medal at his events this fall. He's going.
Yeah. It's a really, really strong team. And again, the one we wondered if they could throw a wrench in it, Yaro has not sort of stepped up to the opportunity, sort of presented. So it solidified these three. Yeah.
I would say Yaro and Jimmy Ma and Ilia Malinin are the three that could do well here. Now, Ilia, how old is Ilia?
Let's check. Dave, while you're
checking. 17. He's old enough. So he is 17.
I'm the worst again, Dave. And I'm so sorry that I have to.
Okay.
It's because I'm overhydrated.
Not knowing where we just paused for a second. I know that we were talking about the men being in.
Ilia Malinin.
17.
We checked his age. Yes. Okay.
So he's old enough. Listen, if he's the pewterist here, pewter medalist, he could wind up at the Olympics.
Exactly, or worlds, depending. I mean, there's a lot
worlds. Definitely, if you're in the pewter here and one of those men, any one of them could not go. And let's see.
For men and nationals, it's 4, 5, 6 that intrigues me. Mm-hmm. Whether we get I don't know where that is going to fall.
I would look at, the men that we are looking at in the field. That I would, Jimmy Ma, Ilia Malinin, and Yaro, they've had strong fall seasons. Sorry, you also have Camden, Artur Dmitriev Jr., Eric Schoberg, they could finish high enough. Max Nemov withdrew from nationals. So yeah, it curious to see what happens there. Yeah. But I do think for Worlds, Ilia Malinin could go to Worlds this year.
Yeah.
And
I think this selection committee has a no-brainer assignment. Yes. Regardless of how it falls. Yeah.
In the ladies event, people I'm curious to see. Starr, Mariah, Karen, Amber. I'm curious to see Gracie because she has been improving. Sentimental reasons, I want to see her land a triple Lutz, triple toe. I think she could still do the best one in the field. Okay.
Yeah.
Gabby Izzo has had a strong fall. Isabeau, obviously. Alyssa Lewis. Audrey Shin is always a name. She hasn't had the best fall season.
Yeah.
And then Lindsay. Those are kind of the strongest resumes going into here.
Yeah.
But any of the other skaters could definitely do something. How about the pair event? There are kind of 4 pairs that we're looking at for this, where Chelsea and Jenny have withdrawn, by the way. So we have Ashley and Timothy, Jessica and Brian. We have Alexa and Brandon, and Audrey and Misha.
Who would you say the momentum is with coming out of the fall? I think it's with Ashley and Tim.
Ashley and Timothy. I think Alexa and Brandon have been doing well. I expect to see them in the top two.
Yes. No, I think the top two, for me, seem very clear. And unfortunately, as much as I love Brian and Jessica, I don't see them in that top two.
But Olympic trials pressure is unlike other competitions.
But you know who that favors to me? Kind of Ashley and Tim. Because I think they can fall back on the longevity of their partnership. But I think this is also going to be the most high stakes performance they've ever done.
You know, it could be really interesting. What if Audrey and Misha are in the top two? What do you do then?
Dave, can we talk this out for a moment, please?
Yes.
Let's revisit our good friend Megan Duhamel. Is she here? No. That was my favorite thing Joan Rivers used to do. That she would say, "Look for the woman in the audience." Megan really was about that. Yes. I have to be honest. I don't understand them in that same way. I understand their elements. I don't see them as a threat to the podium like she very clearly did. She very clearly sees something in them that could really upset the apple cart.
Consistent.
But we've seen them less consistent and consistent. Like, I don't know. I wasn't as on the board, or I wasn't as on the train as she was about their ability to upset the apple cart here. But, I'm always up for something exciting. I just happen to see sort of a fight for the top two spots. I see a solid third and I see a solid fourth. But
in some respects, I think they could be a bigger wrench than Jessica and Brian. Now, granted,
not in PCS though, I guess.
I do think that the international committee will go with Ashley and Timothy and Alexa and Brandon, most likely, unless a team bombs. And if a team bombs, anything can happen. Ashley and Timothy, I think, have done enough.
I think so. 100%. I think so. They're just.
But what if they bomb and what if they bomb and Jessica and Brian repeat 2020 nationals free?
Then I think they might go with Brian and Jessica. Have to give them a reason to go. I think on paper right now, it's Ashley and Tim and Alexa and Brandon. But if Brian and Jessica make a move here, I think the committee might go with it.
Nathan Chen could be in 27th place and they would name him to the team. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
I don't know that's as true for these pairs.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the ice dance,
we know one team is not competing. Do you want to talk about that for a
We'll talk about that next. Okay. In the ice,
okay.
I think it's pretty, to me, it's clear the order of the teams.
Yeah.
Hubbell and Donohue, Chock and Bates, Hawaii and Baker.
Parsons. Ponomarenko.
Yes. Green and Parsons. However, things can change, right? But
have we heard any buzz about like revamped material?
I think Hubbell and Donohue worked on everything, is what they were saying. They've spent time working on it. We didn't see these teams at the Grand Prix final, so the normal things that have been adjusted haven't. Do you think there's any way Chock and Bates could be the national champions? Some people point out that they scored very high at their second Grand Prix event. To me, I still think of Hubbell and Donohue as the top team going in here. Scores aside, Hubbell and Donohue typically compete earlier when the scores are lower, right? Scores tend to rise week to week in ice dance.
Yes, to me, in this material, because both material sort of misses, in my opinion, now I'm going to skating skills. And again, to me, it is undeniable how big Hubbell and Donohue skate, how fast they skate, how powerfully they skate. Now, could Chock and Bates upset that if they had like fabulously unique programs, or this was the time we saw the snake charmer or something like that, then I think it's possible. But since they're both kind of a miss, and it's too bad that the Grand Prix final was canceled so close to it, because I wonder if they knew there would be no Grand Prix final, if they would have taken the time to sort of work out some more things given that time, that they didn't have to prepare for the final. But if it's all the same material, I see the exact list that we mentioned, or the exact order we mentioned.
We're already getting texts. Are we getting a Nationals preview? No, today is the week that we decided that we're not going to do it. That's right. Thank you, John Seals.
Okay, amazing. He's so funny.
Last week, I was having a problem, and with uploading, YouTube was just down and slow, and he was applying that pressure. So,
got it. So funny.
So that's kind of the way Nashville's going to crumble, although we will not see a junior dance team here. And this has been a really interesting story about Isabella Flores posting that her partner, Dmitry Sarevsky, was missing. And it's been in the press that they had to do a wellness check. And
it was slightly misleading because she said missing. And I thought like, oh my gosh, they don't know where he is. But this was sort of, they thought he was just at home, but being, what was the word they used? Restrained or contained? I don't remember. It was, yeah.
Listen, this is what was posted on Instagram. It makes me very nervous talking about this situation.
Yes, to give it legitimacy.
We're also going against like an Instagram story as the only statement of fact in this situation. This Dmitry hadn't been seen as the rink. Obviously, I imagine this partnership is over. They medaled on the Junior Grand Prix, a promising team.
Twice, 2 silver medals. They were 4th at juniors last year. Yeah.
Justin Dillon and Mitch Moyer. I mean, could they go do the wellness check? Like, what is happening? What is happening? I don't know.
Well, and are you truly expecting to skate at nationals and then suddenly it disappears and then you can't? Like, it's clear
that's apparently what happened.
There's so much going on, and it just was one of those that screamed to me, you would need a whole story to get a picture on what's happening here.
All I know is that I sent it to Christine Brennan and said, this is your next serial. Find out what happened.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it's very intriguing. It's fallacious, and it was confusing to me.
Hopefully everyone is okay. They're not going to be at nationals.
Yeah. But speaking of
the parents should have claimed COVID. They should have claimed he had COVID, and then that's why he was at home.
The whole thing seems so, I don't know, messy to me, whatever this is going on here. But also we have a Dmitry ice dancer in Moscow. Dmitry Soloviev was attacked at a karaoke bar for coming to the defense of a young Russian woman who was on the curling team, and they beat him up, knocked him down, kicked him. He was in the hospital.
A head injury. So, and he's apparently doing okay. So that's good, but definitely worrying.
Scary.
Everyone remembers Dennis 10 and that situation. So,
right.
Other thing in Russia, Plushenko and Yana are such experts of the media. I am in awe. Okay.
What happened? I don't even know what's going on.
They were invited, obviously, on the Evening Urgent show, where the talk show where everyone seems to go. Medvedeva and Malinin were on it, and they came out pro Tuktamisheva.
How could you not? I thought. I'm so glad to hear this because I thought Tuktamisheva should be like joining forces with Yana somehow.
And obviously he's from the Mission school. He said that there should be a test skate between the two of them. Now there's a lot of feeling that Anna is the weak link on the Russian team right now. Then people were like, well, if she doesn't, they know that the Russian press, what do they love to do? They love to call everyone for a comment, right?
Yeah.
Any statement like this. So then there are so many articles of people saying, should Elizaveta go over Anna, which only communicates, oh, Anna is really not doing so well. Think about it. If you're throwing shade, casting doubt on Anna by making these every time they call someone. And then when someone like Renat Lyshev, who runs Sambo 70, always opens his mouth and says something about Plushenko, it only gives Plushenko another opportunity to make another headline. And then Yana can go defend her husband in the press, and they can talk about Tuktamisheva and Terry and these girls not looking as good, and the fact that he had 3 out of the 7 finalists for the Junior Grand Prix. I mean, they are masterminds at publicity. They are incredible. This is what we need in America times 1,000. If we had people fighting, skating would be so freaking popular when you're like, oh my God, want to watch this.
But you have to be relevant to fight, and obviously we are not. What was that one?
Oh, right.
It's like,
There's a lack of irrelevancy, but
it's Russia. It's Russia calling.
So, but you think about it, like, oh my God, they have that many people. So now, what if Anna doesn't do well at Europeans? Oh dear God. That's why I said Tuktamisheva needs to be doing all of those jumps on Instagram. Get in the rink, Lisa, and start reeling off some quads. Okay, triple axel, triple toe, half loop, triple sow. Okay, let's just
quad toe. Yeah, yeah.
Just apply that.
Now, this sort of came out after we did the Russian recap, but at that press conference when Sasha Trusova did give one of the best facial expressions I have ever seen from a skater at a press conference. She was like having like one of those like juice, you know, like, I don't know, fruit snack things in a pouch. And then a reporter, which shame on this report, we get so much slack for making criticisms, speaking our opinions. We are not doing them to the skater. Mm-hmm. We are having a closed conversation about a subjective sport. For that reporter to have asked Anna Shcherbakova directly, like, where do you get off thinking you belong on the team if Tuktamisheva has 2 triple axels? We're accused of like attacking children, but that's actually like to that athlete. I don't know. I found that so gross on the part of the journalist, but I did love that it gave us that opportunity from Trusova, who basically was like trying not to laugh at how ridiculous the question was.
Yes.
I can't imagine. Like,
I have nothing to add. It was just
it's insane, and that's got to be for someone like Shcherbakova. Does that inspire or does that deflate? I don't know. If you're at Sambo 70, you're probably inspired by tough times. So I feel like maybe this kind of public sentiment that maybe she doesn't deserve it over Elizaveta may inspire her to do better. I don't know, but I think if she was able to do better, she would have been.
I mean, apparently she had a bit of a knee situation. So Plashenko was saying that Anna didn't look good in the practices. Other people said that she did look good in the practices. I haven't seen video of the practice. I don't know. You know, I would love to see video of the practice. Please send it to me. Someone said she was doing 3 quads. Other people, he said she wasn't doing her quads. I would like to watch this, and I trust nothing until I watch the video in this situation. I would like to see it, and
well, and again, it's an interesting thing that Europeans could be that test skate, but of course, given that they can only send 3 to Europeans as well, it doesn't allow them to have that skate off moment. Unless they don't send one of their...
They're not going to let Terry get into a skate off situation, okay?
Right, that's right.
No way!
Right.
She is their star coach.
Yeah.
There's no way. The test skate doesn't benefit them in the sense, besides to cast doubt on their third skater, because what if they have a test skate and Anna still comes ahead? Then you still have the narrative, oh, she had to have a test skate to get herself onto the Olympic team. It's only casting doubt. Instead, they can go to Europeans, do well. Now, if they go to Europeans and it doesn't go well, that's another situation. Then everyone's going to be like, Tuktamisheva should have been there. But to actually host the test skate,
unless Europeans is canceled and they decide to hold a test skate in lieu of it. I
don't think they would.
Yeah.
I think it almost seems like they are running from the cops. Okay. Diana Davis was named to that Olympic team and they're not taking it away. Okay.
Right.
They have survived so far. I expect to see Anna at the Olympics, barring, you know, a positive PCR test, right? So, yeah, I don't know, but that's this the expert shade.
So this is a different mood from you, because after Russian Nationals, you felt pretty hopeful she might still be on that team, Elizaveta. But now it seems like you're saying it seems more clear now that she will not.
I don't. Oh, okay. Let me back up. I don't know how healthy the other skaters are, which is why I think that Elizaveta could have a shot.
Okay.
You have someone with a knee injury that had surgery on her foot, ankle potentially over the summer, or at least had an injury and was off the ice. You know, we don't know if she had surgery, but there's some speculation she did, some that she did. Someone that had an injured lower extremity over the summer, missed time, hasn't landed a clean quad this year, and maybe has a knee injury and didn't look so great at the Nationals. Having to compete a whole other time and do that. And then you have someone that has a stress fracture of her foot, doing how many quads, training again, competing again during a pandemic. That's what I mean. I don't think it's over for Elisabetta. Keep training.
Yeah.
This ain't over, right? That's what
Right.
I'm saying, right? Is
Right.
that I'm not saying that they're going to pull her. I'm saying that it's survival of the fittest, right? And
Yeah.
this is what, I mean, that's just, it's a new era, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Uncharted territory for most.
We're not just doing triple triples, we're doing quads. And the risk of
Right.
injury is
Hi.
huge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but how about Canadian Nationals? What are you thinking there? This is,
I know. Where do you think the most unpredictability lies? Is it in their second male? Oh, in pairs. Oh, you mean in the placement or in the selection of the team?
in the placement.
Yeah, for me, the biggest question mark is the selection of the team and the men.
Mhm.
About Nam and Roman over Keegan. I feel like Keegan has safely, found his way back to an Olympics. I'm curious how this is going to go.
Gogolev. Could he throw a wrench in?
Well, when we saw him this year, it's clear he's playing it safer, but
Mhm.
I don't know. Is this a go encourage the youth?
I just think
the
he can be
future?
steady.
Yeah.
If he's steady and others aren't, oh dear God.
Yeah. But they've been ready to see him do well. So it's not like he, in their eyes, would be coming out of nowhere. He's just only had that one competition this fall.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think Maddie Schizas is a safe bet to win.
I think so too.
Gabby Daleman, though, I think it's gonna. She will. You know what? I have money on Gabby Daleman to make nationals interesting.
Fair enough. Yeah, she always has.
I think she will make it interesting, right?
Now talk to me about pairs.
Okay, you've got Deanna, whose partner had COVID. They're going to have 2 practices before they go to nationals. They've been to
Took
third
him off the ice a lot. That's tough. Yeah.
Okay. You've had Evelyn and Trent, who have been not good this season.
Very scary season. Yeah.
You've got Kirsten Moortowers and Michael Marinaro. They have not had a good fall season.
Right.
You have Vanessa and Eric, who perhaps had the best fall season, and they've also, shown some vulnerabilities, but I would say that they have had the best fall
of the
season.
Canadians. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think KMT would be gunning for them in most circumstances, or is she in survival mode? Are we fighting? Or are we surviving? That's
I think we're surviving, or like low battery mode almost. It's like where it turns yellow and it's trying to
We don't
preserve
know
what's left. Yeah. With the momentum of things and I don't know what we've seen unfold in the fall, like Vanessa and Eric have made their errors, but they're different errors, and they're sometimes over here and they're sometimes over here, and they're goofy errors, but they're not consistently the same type of error. So I do see Vanessa and Eric as the favorites here.
I do as
and
well.
And I see KMT as a solid number 2. And I was thinking Deanna would be number 3 and then Evelyn and Trent behind them, but I don't know what to expect now from there. But even with limited training, I feel like Evelyn and Trent have very much opened doors for other people to surpass them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And ice dance, I would think it's Piper, the Canadians, Marjorie and Zach. You also do have Caroline and Shane in there, but I think it's clearer.
If Canada's doing their job, I would imagine the scores for Piper and Paul are going to be astronomically large, right?
Yes.
I think they're going to have to do a huge statement here.
They're going to make sure that they outscore whatever Hubbell and Donohue and Chock and Bates get. Yes.
Exactly. And that's why we should go in and see when the different free dances are held. Who's our first? Probably ours, because we tend to close up free dance, or, the ice dance discipline pretty soon.
And we're on the East Coast, and this is being held in Ottawa. No, it's not too bad, not too different. Okay, yeah, I don't.
An hour, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. Very intriguing. I don't know.
It will be very interesting. I would imagine, because are they 3 for ice dance? The Olympic team? Great, because again, I love that Rio program. So I hope it goes to the Olympics.
Yes, I think it will. I think it will go. So
I think so too.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's been quite the event. I did skate in a show with Lindsay, who looks very steady. She did single and axel, but I think overall she's been skating. I think she skated how she's been performing in the fall. So I think she's ready to go.
She did her short program, right? She did the triple
program,
and she had the look good.
So, and it was, it's a club show. So I know that I warmed up at 5:20 and I skated at 7:15, which is a new thing. I've never gone like 2 hours before. So that's, Lindsay, I imagine, she certainly skated after I did, being more of a headliner in the event. So I think, she probably was waiting.
Dave, I saw your program. I was very impressed at your progress. Lots of combos, lots of new spins, lots of deep knees, like a whole death scene.
Oh, the death scene, yes. The spin didn't happen either time that I did it. Well, the forward spin happened, but it was too high. And so I'm just working on that at the end of the day.
Did you find that putting it in a show context as opposed to a competitive context sort of changed your mindset during?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
It never would have for me.
The only thing is when I went to warm up, my front scratch to back scratch is a solid element for me. I mean, we always work on holding it longer, but for whatever reason, I just fell on the exit to it. And it was the one thing I was doing. And I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do a forward scratch for the show. That's the only thing. But obviously if I was in a competition, I would have done it, so that's the only thing that it really changed. But I didn't feel inherently more relaxed necessarily because I haven't performed in a while. So I had some personal goals to achieve there and things that I was, concerned with. So I wanted to go out and perform more. I told Galina that I was going to perform like Elena Ilinik, performing for Vladimir Putin at the Sochi Olympics. Okay, I was going to give it, everything I had. So,
God, that final lift of that one, like that. That was your death scene. Like it was your version of that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the death scene. By the way, if people want to link to what kind of knee pads they like to practice in, I mean, it's really bruised from doing I have a knee moment, and when I put it down, sometimes I put it down too hard. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, I bet, because you're into it then, and that can be.
The knee slides are very painful. Okay, and no one talks about it. All right, they can be very painful. Just with the momentum.
And I like that they did it because they did it full lights, right?
Yes.
You weren't in spots, which I so prefer. I know they think it's more theatrical or something. I disagree. I like the full lights.
I've never skated in spots, and I have no desire.
First, I know it seems weird. To me, it cheapens it for some reason. I don't know why. It's my own personal thing that spotlights seem cheesy instead of enhancing.
It seems like it would be scary. I don't know.
Especially
not
because
experienced enough for that. So
on your show they had like giant blow up Christmas decorations in the corner.
It was very cute.
But you could have skated into that in spotlights.
I mean, they were all the way on the corner. No, but it was good. And good to get out there in time. So who knows? I was worried that the show was going to be canceled because 2 days before there was an article that restrictions were going to come out and then they didn't come out. So who knows? So everyone was kind of waiting, but it is to have that kind of waiting game again. So I don't know. We want to know from you, what do you think about the nationals? What does it take to make the Olympic team? What should body of work mean? Has anyone really solidified anything going in? What if Amber is second? What if Amber is third? Have these other skaters really done it? Leave all of that in the comments.
I know, it's so many questions.
What would it take for them to pull the Olympics in China? What would happen? All of it. Jonathan, did you have a moment of the week this week?
Yes. Do you want to know? Here's a funny moment of the week. So New Year's Eve. Oh, I saw West Side Story, by the way.
Yes.
Sensational. I have never loved a movie musical more than this particular iteration. I thought the storytelling was amazing. I thought the music was incredible. I hope everyone skates to that mambo. Everyone. I love that music. And I thought the performances were amazing. But then we came back on New Year's Eve, and Josh is into skating, but doesn't know as much. So he's been getting to know it. So he was like, yeah, I'll watch a skating documentary with you. So we watched an old YouTube clip of Magic Memories on Ice. He had never seen it. So we did like a little history lesson. And for someone who's newer to the sport, and he could name all the Russian people that, you know, are skating now and all this sort of stuff, but to go back and do that sort of mini history, it was so fun. And for me to revisit that movie, that was like my Bible. It was like my education in skating was Magic Memories on Ice. And you realize how much Dick was teaching us and how much they like taught us. And then we went and watched your Dick Button video and like all of his commentary on that. So it's just a lovely like educational skating evening. That was my moment of the week.
I think my moment of the week was watching Vlad co-team at the 88 Olympics in Calgary. And what I want to know from people is, was that a sincere performance? Did he feel he was over the top? Was he in on it? Was it camp for camp's sake? Was it sincere?
Didn't we judge 88 Men?
We did.
Okay.
I want to know. I'm still confused. Every time I watch it, I'm like, does this man know he's being extra? Or was this just the 80s?
Dave, I pray you always are confused when you see it. I never want you to see it and be like, I get it.
I just don't know. But I love it. Okay.
What's not to love? It was entertaining.
Yes. Hope it edge looks sexy, everyone. Bye now.